right, welcome back. This is Business Today. Thank you so much for staying with us. We are talking about medical technology, and with me is Wamboi Nyabero, who is a Chief Tech Officer at Virgo Africa Limited. Thank you so much for sticking around. And also Katuchi Kasandi, who is a Director of Inventions, Education Partnerships at Rice University 360, which is an Institute for Global Health Technologies. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, now let's look at technology and trying to bring it even into the rural area and trying to convince people in the rural area that this is something that is coming in to improve the way things are done in the hospital. For example, we were speaking earlier on the MRI. You tell someone to go there, they're saying, I'm good, I can't go there. So first of all, what needs to be done in order for even the people in the rural area to believe in medical technology? Wamboi.
I think it's about co-creating and co-designing. So it's interesting that you asked that question, because this is some of what we do. When you start talking about, a lot of people these days talk about design thinking, but what that really means to me is that you keep the customer in mind. So if we are designing for the rural areas, you don't sit in Nairobi and design for the rural areas. You go to that setting and you figure out what are people's cultural norms, what are their actual needs, what are the needs of, from a, not just a technology perspective, but from a social perspective, and from you know, how many healthcare providers do you have, and how do you do things that support the situation as it is. And this is why it's so key that we're making our own medical technology, because then we're here, we can go to those settings and we can figure that out, and then we can create something that takes care of those people in the rural settings that maybe do not have the same connectivity, do not have the same level of power. Whatever it is, you innovate around that situation.
Right, and Katuchi, what are your sentiments about this? For example, some weeks ago, I think last month, there was a story I was looking at where a rural area, they just have one equipment to test over 3,000 people. They've calculated that. So how does this work out? And how do you tell these people, okay, this is what is going to help out in the next maybe couple of years?
Yeah. Thank you. In addition to what Wamboi has highlighted, I would say that at the center of the devices that are developed at Rice 360 is student innovators who come from these communities. So in those communities, they've interacted with the challenge, they are passionate about the challenge, they have stories like what you've mentioned of this, of a grandmother that was unable to enter the MRI machine. So they are able to engage with those people who are part of their family to understand what kind of machine would they be comfortable enough to enter, and then combine that with the engineering knowledge that they have to build a product that responds to the local needs and cultures and norms, as Wamboi had highlighted. Beyond that, within Rice 360, we have different programming, and some of the programming is really geared towards ensuring that the technology that is developed by students actually gets into hospitals across the country. So I would not be surprised if you go to Kakamega Hospital right now, you will get the Nest 360 devices in the neonatal, in the newborn unit. So we have put in place really systems to ensure that our devices get into those, into the marginalized communities, but over and beyond that, we've worked backwards with our innovators to ensure that they have that lived experience to actually build products for those communities. Yeah.
All right. All right. Let us move over and look at the global space, and look at especially when it comes to the Western countries. And now let's look at technology. This is where now the education also comes in. In the Western countries, the universities get funding to really train their people on technology. And now when it comes to Africa, where does the funding come from? How do we have people who are really qualified to take care of this technology that is coming into hospitals, Wambui. What needs to be done in order for this to happen? Because in the Western countries, we have funding, we have people who get out of the universities straight into the job market.
Yeah, so I think that story starts in the university. So I almost feel like Katuchi should answer that question first and then hand it over,
yes,
because we take from the university and move with it.
Well, Katuchi, give us your perspective. In Africa, where does the funding come from?
Yeah, I would say that if you look at some of the universities in the West, they have initially invested in innovation, and those investments into their innovation is now coming back to build some of their endowment funds. So you will see that some of the global universities, through some of the initial intellectual property that they invested in their student innovators, those investments have gone ahead and created value, and now they are able to get funding to support the development of new student innovators. Beyond that, like within our work, we've also seen instances where university partners leverage their student innovators to actually implement industry projects and get funding to support the innovation for the students. And beyond that, I would say that let's not also underestimate the contribution of university. It might not be direct finances, but it could be the in-kind support that they do provide to ensure that innovation happens. One of the things that we've seen is that, as highlighted earlier, a key facility that we help develop within universities is maker spaces. Maker spaces require electricity, require like a huge space, require faculty to be a part of, and universities are able to provide spaces, take care of those bills, support faculty to be a part of the maker space to help develop innovators. So even let's not fail to quantify that in-kind support that the university brings. And then finally, I would say that we have seen global funders that really want to partner with local institutions to co-create some of the innovation opportunities that could feed into the pipeline that partners like Vilgro are actually developing. And I would say, like, for us with our local programming, Lemelson Foundation has been a really good partner at ensuring that we actually are able to support the innovation and get that initial pipeline and then hand it over to Vilgro for Vilgro to take it to the next stage.
Yes, okay, Wambui, give us now. She has stated that there are organizations that want to partner with the universities. Yeah. So where do you come in now?
So once we have these innovations, these innovators and entrepreneurs who come out into the world, they're no longer students, and they have something really great that they want to take to market. An impact investor and incubator like Vilgro Africa is a very good place for them to land, because like I said earlier, we'll give them a little bit of money, which will take them to a certain level, but more importantly, we'll give them a lot of technical support. They'll feel supported, they'll get the resources they need, whether that's from things like filing their intellectual property, understanding the regulatory landscape, figuring out where they're going to prototype and manufacture, and who they need to partner with to go to market. To answer your question a little more fully, MedTech or medical technology takes a lot of time to develop. And so the kind of capital that is needed is very patient capital. The traditional venture capitalists want to get a return fairly quickly. So we are typically working with development funds or foundations that are going to be patient and work with the medical technology innovators for years before we hand over to the venture capitalists, who then take those same entrepreneurs and help them scale, maybe to different markets or even internally, just to develop manufacturing and become bigger enterprises.
And even as you're speaking about the partnerships, how do you envision the collaboration between academia, healthcare, and also industry and government in shaping the whole medical sector?
That is exactly why we're bringing people together for the Transforming Africa MedTech conference that is going to be later this week. What we really envision is that we are going to build an action agenda. So, you know, as opposed to, you know, the vision is not to have a series of panels where people talk and then go away. We are going to talk about all of these pieces. You know, what is it that support that we need from governments? What support do we need in manufacturing? And so on and so forth. And at the end of the 2 days, we are going to set up an action agenda and working groups that are going to get together throughout the year, so that when we have our second annual Transforming African MedTech conference, we actually can track the progress that we have made throughout the year in all of those spaces.
All right, thank you so much. And Katuchi, now, many a times when we are in class, we are taught about very many things. You're told this is supposed to be done this way, and then you don't get to do a practical about whatever you're taught. And then when you go to the field, in quotes, ground ni different. because whatever you're taught in class is not exactly what is on the field. So how do you make sure that you balance between whatever is taught in class and what is the actual thing that happens on the ground?
Thank you for that question. We've been very lucky at Rice University to build very good relationships with hospitals. And typically what we do is that we will pair students with clinicians to shadow them for a period of time and get to interact with the problem at the clinical setup. And what we will do then thereafter is to bring students to the facilities that I mentioned earlier called design studios, where we have tools and equipment to enable them build. And what we will do is that as students are building and getting mentorship from faculty, they'll also be getting mentorship from clinicians, just so that we ensure that whatever they are building is driven by the needs in the market, and they've already interfaced enough with the problem to actually come and build this product. And then now thereafter is to work with them throughout this process to ensure that those two or those different partners within the ecosystem are working with them to not only shape and scope the problem, but also giving feedback on the product that is coming out and giving them the space to go back to the hospital and actually test this innovation within the hospital. What that kind of experience does is that it does not only prepare you to probably be an innovator and leverage programs like the Will Grow Africa Accelerator program, but it also enables engineering students to have practical experience that they could even take a job in a local manufacturing organization or company in Kenya, or they could leverage that practical experience to access global education that requires students to have projects that they've run in the undergraduate, and that exposure enables them to expand the scope of opportunity that they could have. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, now let's look at the last thing and look at the main barrier of creating a comprehensive and transformative medical technology in Africa. What is the main barrier? What is making us not to reach the levels of maybe the developed countries where they are at and the expertise that they have? The main barrier. Let me start with you, Amboy, and now we'll get to Katuchi later on.
That is a very complicated question, Bwana because there isn't one barrier, but if I'm to put it together as one, it's the lack of linkages between the different pieces of the value chain, because we have a lot of amazing talent. We have people who can do things, but people are kind of working in silos. So I think it is that lack of those linkages and partnerships that we would really love to foster, because then we can hand things over. Like I said, it comes from the university, we take it up, we hand it to the next person who hands it to the next, but if we don't know who each other are and what we are able to do, then we are unable to do that.
Working as a team.
Working as a team.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's the answer.
Okay.
But just to probably think about it from an university perspective, I would say investment in infrastructure that enables the university curriculum to be practical. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So if the curriculum is practical and responds to the needs of the MedTech industry, then it enables you to build pipeline that can successfully go through the value chain that Wambui has highlighted.
Mm-hmm. And of course, we will not say no to investment. So,
yes.
I should really iterate that investment from any sources will be very, very helpful.
All right. And now, the last issue as we close. COVID-19 came and disrupted everything. We had technology disrupted also, how did this foster the medical industry to turn into technology?
Actually, I think COVID-19 really was helpful in terms of people really understanding the need for us developing our own medical technology. Mm-hmm. I personally was part of a team that was actually developing a ventilator in Nairobi. It ended up not going to market because we discovered that ventilators weren't really what we needed. But what that did is that it told us that we have the engineers, we have the marketing people, we have all the skills that we need to actually develop a very complicated piece of medical technology like a ventilator. Mm-hmm. And it also pointed out to us that the supply chain issues that could make us not able to sustain our own healthcare system are things that we need to start paying attention to. If everything is coming from China or India or wherever it's coming from and there's a problem, then we are completely stuck. So we have to start thinking about how do we become self-sufficient. And I think that thinking now is fairly mainstream, unless we forget the further away we get from COVID-19.
All right. And also, Katuchi, she's spoken about being self-sufficient. Yeah. And let us look at also the young generation. In the coming years, are we looking at the employment opportunities coming into place? Are we looking at people in school now studying and saying, okay, I want now to finish and become a medical tech practitioner?
I would say we are looking at all that, and what's beautiful about innovation, especially innovating within the MedTech space, is that through that process, it expands your opportunity. As Wambui has highlighted, by them developing their local ventilator, they were able to identify the resources that do exist locally that they may not be aware of. So in the same way, for students, in their process of engaging with innovation, they are able to build practical skill sets that a lot of employers say that they are unable to find in entry-level talent, so that increases their chances of accessing opportunity. Beyond that, as highlighted, it also really enables them, for those that want to actually become innovators, it gives them an opportunity to start their innovation journey, and through the linkages that are provided by programs like the Rise 361 within the university, they are able to be connected with opportunities. As when you look at the MedTech innovation ecosystem, you'll always see that universities are listed as partners that help in the discovery of new innovation talent within the innovation ecosystem. Mm. And finally, I would say that this practical experience, again, gives you an opportunity to global programs that could give you an employment anywhere in the world. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us, ladies, Wambui and Katuchi. Thank you so much for coming to Business Today. You have it. We've come to the end of Business Today. And later on this week, they'll be having the MedTech conference. If you are a young person who wants to get into this, come on, it's your chance to get there. All right, my name is Kelvin Nyakundi. BU KTN is coming up next.